Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Barbarian and this is Victoria 3's Dev Day number 50, a living map, and man, this one is crazy. This one is absolutely beautiful. It makes me think CK3, my god, even with all the alterations that have been made to, Iberia within the Fate of Iberia DLC, I have to say they don't hold up in comparison to what we have right here. It is something that has to be brought up, how living can a world be before it gets too cluttered, before you stop actually seeing what is happening, what is important to you, but Victoria 3 really will give an impression, I think. It really will give off some vibes that previous games haven't had, that of course, Victoria 2, but it's an unfair comparison, hasn't had either, and that even Imperator Rome, with as beautiful as the map was, didn't have, because it was a much less sophisticated level of map expansion and city sprawl. You're going to see this in a second, I think, as well, and if you're a fan of CK3, then you will probably agree with me, I would say. Today I will be showing you a lot more of the visual elements of the map and how it evolves over the course of time and through your influence. The living map has many different elements to it that adds both a bit of flavor and life in the world of Victoria 3, and I'll be going over some of the main elements in their current state to give you all some insight. First of all, the topic of the hub expansion. As you reach certain thresholds of buildings, both production, government and residential ones, your cities will expand with a corresponding building. When it comes to the residential buildings, they all have 3 different tiers of wealth within each culture set. The higher tiers are automatically activated upon reaching a higher standard of living for the pops of that hub. To further amplify this change of standard of living and to provide some more motion around hubs, we have an effect that indicates either an increase on or decrease with a construction hammer and anvil that either hardens or breaks. I have been hiding this image that you can see right next to me quite a bit here as I was reading this, because I want to show you this in all its glory. Let's take a look. Look at this. My god. What can you see right here? This is clearly 1836. You can see right there, Luxembourg still belongs to the Netherlands. We can see Eupen Malmedy, of course, in Prussian hands. And we can see, okay, there are some effects down there in Paris. You can see the hammer and the anvil. About those visuals, I'm not too sure, but I think it's incredibly minor. I don't really want to take the time to talk about that too long. You can see these ships coming out of the harbor, going on their journey. I think you can actually see one. No, you can't see one spawning right there. Then you can see various effects. I have to say it's probably when a new building is constructed. Now, at least when you look at this area right here, if I'm not mistaken, that gets an effect. There it is. And there is definitely some change happening there as this GIF plays along. What is more important, though, isn't actually this GIF alone. They took the time to actually put, a lot more people, a lot more buildings onto the map here in 1836. It's still 1836 because the map borders don't change. Netherlands still own Luxembourg and so on. But, my god, just look at this. This, and I'm gonna turn my camera off here for a moment. This is absolutely incredible. What you have right here is the expansion of everything that is happening. You can see the smog right here. Obviously, again, these ships are still old sailors. That is very likely, at the very least, because, we're looking at 1836. The Netherlands, again, still hold Luxembourg. But I want you to really take this in, this mass of everything going on the map. All these different hubs expanding. You can see Paris itself. You can see the Eiffel Tower right here. But then you can also see the smaller hub that, barely existed in the original GIF right there. Look at this different. It's absolutely astonishing. It's incredible just how much it changed. You can also see, of course, that now you have railways here where there once used to be a path. You have all the smog that really does color it in much more gray, much more brownish, right? But in general, you have this massive, massive expansion of everything. And the best part is, and this is why I was saying that this isn't comparable to Imperator Rome. And Imperator Rome, basically, right, as your tile grew, you would look at a situation where it just would fill out with basically buildings. In this game, you specifically place the buildings and the standard of living, so the quality of buildings, in these locations that are actually there in the, gameplay mechanics. This is a totally different experience. If you look at this right here, you can see the individual buildings. Again, the Eiffel Tower, of course, is very obvious, but here you see some unique buildings. I believe you do see some garrisons all around. Then right here, what is this? This is Luxembourg City, of course. I assume right here we should have the Ruhr area, and then up there, of course, Berlin and so on. This is just insane. There's nothing else that I can say. I hope that this first impression really, hit you the same way that it hit me. What we have right here, I would like to make a comparison of this as well, but the things are sadly a different form. It doesn't really matter too much. What we have right here is, of course, Istanbul in 1836 as it existed at the time. Well, Constantinople, right? And you can see it right here as well. I believe this is a government building. This is the Hagia Sophia. And then right here, I'm not sure what there is, but let's take a look at this and then... Oh, nope, not this car. This right here, I can't zoom in because it's sadly a smaller image, as I said, but if you compare the size of this city and, of course, of this city, when you look at the garrison right there, you will notice, of course, a massive, massive difference. It seems to follow fairly natural patterns. I really, I can't stress enough, I think, and look at that, there's not even any settlement right here, and all of a sudden there's a settlement there. I can't stress just how different this is. CK3, if you play that game, if that was your first Paradox game, I know that many people started with that, then you aren't even used to sprawl. Fate of Iberia added some city walls, it added some other visuals, but this is on a different level. I want this for CK3. Of course, you know, in much more realistic proportions, CK3 is a completely different game, it has different objectives, it does different things, but my god, this is incredible. And honestly, and this is a bit of a tangent, but even in CK3 it would make sense that baronies can't be independent if a county grows as a whole. So instead of each barony being individual, they just grow as a whole. So if you build up your archbishopric, then you will have plenty of churches and so on in that county, and otherwise you would have maybe, you know, basically just castles and so on. This is gorgeous. There's no other way of putting it, but of course this is just the start of this dev diary. As I said, this is a wonderful one. Right here, you can see the decrease of standard of living into the increase. So this basically hardens the anvil, and here the anvil breaks. Things are, you know, shattering. I gotta tell you, I'm not really wild about this animation, but as I said, this is such a minor thing. The only thing that I really do want to point out when it comes to how this works is that you can basically identify it right here, right? You're looking at this. This is a garrison. These are barracks right over there. Then right here you have normal housing buildings. I at least would call them normal housing buildings. And then here you have the city hub core that we already knew about. We've seen that so often. The only thing, when I look at this, that I would enjoy seeing would be if, let's say, these are 4 houses of the same standard of living, right? And instead of being 4 tiles, and if I'm not mistaken here, then we have these tiles. Yeah, look at this. This is a tile that we can find again here, that I believe we can find again here. And obviously that will happen. Don't get me wrong here. These things are reused. You have to reuse these assets. It makes perfect sense. But I would love it if, you know, let's say you have 4 tiles of the same variation, it actually would just fuse them into a unique tile that, you know, can only be found maybe once per city to bring some more difference in there. You don't necessarily need to look at these cities and be able to tell exactly what is happening in the city menus. That is what you have the city menus for. So I would love if aesthetics were even more prioritized, but as it is, this is genuinely gorgeous. I honestly, I'm just so... I wasn't blown away when they talked about the flags for Victoria 3, because we have this amazing coat of arms editor in CK3, but this CK3 is an absolute child's play in comparison. CK3, they gotta step it up because this is insane. Now let's talk about vehicles. We have made quite a few vehicles that breathe life into the world. These are unlocked by research, adjusting your production methods, and building specific buildings. The most fundamental one being a horse carriage that traverses the dirt roads of connected hubs. With specific research, you can, instead of cars putter along the roads. Right, there you go. If regular roads are too simple for you, there are also a bunch of different trains. For when you've researched railroads, old locomotives can turn into electric ones, and steel railway cars can also be applied. This, of course, you know, you see some carriages right here. It's super cute. You see the trees sway, and you know what? This GIF is what makes me realize that my worries about the Mediterranean trees, and I believe we can see them up here as well, they look so much better here. First of all, wait a minute, but they don't sway here, do they? Oh no, they do. I think I have to take it back. I looked at these, right, the other day, and maybe it was shadowing. Maybe it was, but I thought they looked really weird. But now look at that. When you look at this in detail and they sway a little bit, you know, they have a little bit of movement right there. You can see it when the GIF resets. It makes them feel much more alive. Maybe my tree criticism was actually an issue of just looking at a still image. I love these trees. It looks like they're painted in. It looks like this very calming, you know, flow, basically. And yeah, there you have the carriages. I like this. This is really neat. Will definitely breathe some life into the map. Reminds me a lot as well of the carriages that travel. Is it EU4? It's EU4's carriages, right? They travel from trade node to trade node. Very, very cute. Right here, we got a car. That car looks pretty cute as well. I mean, what can you say, right? Very, very neat thing in there. Honestly, this map, when you look at it this way, it really does remind me. Have you seen one of those really realistic miniature locomotive models that they build? You know, where it's like this huge thing and it's all, oh yeah, I planted all these trees and it took me 10 years. That's the feeling that I get from this. It just looks so nice. Then right here, we have an old locomotive going over a river. I really like these bridges. Honestly, I'm just a big fan of these aesthetics. And they are having a good time, but they could have an even better time. Look at that. Man, once you animate the stuff, and this is clearly built somewhere in Asia because this is the Asian building set. Once you animate this stuff, it's just incredible. Like, it's just actually insane what they have done with this. You see standard of living, you see the tech, you see where your actual density is, you see the smog, you see all of that applied, and look at that, we got some electric trains. Yeah, I will say, I thought about this, that it would be nice if we did have this overhead line, right, that this actually attaches to, if that was just placed next to the track, if you have this tech. But I gotta tell you, it's a luxury complaint at the end of the day. This looks so cute. Look at these little farming houses. I like the variations. I like the deviation from, let's just put houses down. No, instead it says, when you build something, it will be there. Man, what unbelievable. Just look at it drive right here. And then here, my favorite train. Look at this beautiful locomotive right there. However, land is not the only place where vehicles make an appearance. In the seas and along the shipping lanes, you'll be able to see cargo ships traveling. These range from simple clippers to steamships, depending on what you've researched and what sort of production methods you're utilizing. Look at them go. They are really neat, they are really cute, and there they go. They just look good. What do you want me to say, right? They just look good. Let's actually, you know what, I would like to take a quick look at the clippers that are going right here. What we can actually see, by the way, look at that, the port changes. You see this? Between these two stages. Obviously, this is a later stage port right there. I'm not sure about ports here in the Netherlands. But yeah, obviously, the ship tech doesn't change. They didn't adjust that, but it just looks so nice. Man, getting an in-detail view right here will be a different experience compared to what it is in normal games, without a doubt. Look at them go. Last but not least, we look to the skies, where you'll be able to see zeppelins soaring through the air when skyscrapers have been built and act as anchoring points for the massive airships. I hope that... So, the base version of what I would like to see here is basically that if you build a skyscraper in a certain radius, the airship can just go basically in a circle and then return to the skyscraper. My dream... And this is, you will never look at this, so this is basically wasted effort, don't get me wrong here, but my dream would be that if you have a skyscraper, and then either one of your colonies, or somebody in your market, or somebody that you're friendly with has a skyscraper as well, the Zeppelin could go from A to B, anchor there, and then return. It, again, wouldn't really have any influence. I think you would very rarely see it, but that is just one of those tiny things that is so cute. Look at the shadow go. And oh man, unbelievable what they've done here. Seriously, I'm stunned by the visuals that they have when it comes with the map changing. Crazy. Military and war. When conflict inevitably brews and wars break out, there are lots of ways we show those effects on your hubs and surrounding terrain. When gearing up for war, your troops will be determined by what you've researched and the production methods of your barracks. You can look at what troops you have in your garrison at any time, but upon entering a battle, they, the most advanced unit, will be visible on the map where battle takes place, facing off against the opponent's troops. Depending on what weapons you've equipped your units with, different effects will show. So even a mobile artillery unit has different kinds of shots. Right, so they have different shots effects. Of course, they have different basic unit effects, whether it's some guys shooting, whether it's a bunker shooting, whether it's cannons shooting, and so on. And then they got this art. I really like this art. I wish it had a frame. I have to admit, I wish this had a frame. Anything that is fairly unframed in a UI always sort of, you know, it's sort of confusing. It seems like it doesn't fit right in. Yeah, with a bit of a frame, similar to the square, right, graphic showcase that they have in the population distribution. I would like to see that here as well, with a slightly ornament frame. Now here we got bunker fire. I think this is really neat. I will tell you, I haven't changed my feelings about the military units. I think the variety here is great. The flamethrowers, the bunker fire. Obviously, you got battleships, and this is such a beautiful GIF when you look at, you know, how they turn, how the boat actually sways as it shoots. Really beautiful. But I have to tell you, I wish that we basically had this bunker fire, except over like a longer area. Right, over, okay, the battle happens in one location, you get this bunker, or you get this flamethrower, but I would really like it if instead it's several smaller bunkers and they all are firing, there's a lot of smoke. That is what I was hoping for. I have to tell you, when it's just this one single thing, you know, we look at all the clutter that we have right here on the map, and nobody, I would bet money that nobody will say this is too much clutter. I can't. Oh man, where's which city? Obviously, you get city plaques, you know, that are in the air, whatnot. But what I mean is, nobody will say, man, they really put too much work in making the map look pretty, right? I don't believe that is a valid concern anybody has. And if they go with this much clutter here, in this instance, I wish they had done it as well. You know, instead of just a bunker being, for example, right here, if a battle happens in this area, I would love to have bunkers like basically here, and they are doing active fire. Maybe the devastation even spreads from these locations. That is what I would like to see. But we are getting this, and in all fairness, again, it has to be said, it's a lot of variety, which is always welcome. Now this one is a beautiful GIF, which is why I'm hiding it from you. When a region has been ravaged by war and a lot of battles, you will start to see the effect of that on the region where this happened through devastation. The dynamic devastation affects a variety of parameters for the region, its trade, pops and hubs. It also visually shows, not just by tearing up the surrounding terrain, but also muddles rivers and burns buildings. The extent of this increases the more battles are fought in the same region. Let's have this GIF reset itself. This is gorgeous. Take a look at this river at first, right? Take a look at this river. Keep looking at it, and once the GIF flips back, I mean, you can see right here, so much browner, so muddled, so muddy, right? And all of a sudden, it's blue again. Devastation has this beautiful creeping effect. It creeps in, it destroys all your work, everything is significantly worse. You can see the color palette here, of course, changing as well, as this entire city basically becomes a shadow of its former self, very, very gray, much weaker, you know, where it once used to be. This is one of the, I would say it's the most gorgeous GIF, but I mean, we do have, of course, you know, this right here, but it's an absolutely beautiful GIF. It is incredible what kind of work they have done here. Seriously, when it comes to the map visualization of things taking place, Victoria 3 will be the queen. I can already tell you this. It will be the queen amongst the games that Paradox has made, and probably amongst all grand strategy games. Here we have a hub that is getting devastated. It is burning. There's devastation all around, and the hub is having a very bad time. Also, if you really need additional troops, you can activate your conscription centers if you've got access to them, which forces a lot of people to sign up. Make sure to show this as well through an effect on your hubs where conscripts are being drafted. I wonder what that looks like. It surely isn't this, right? Production and pops. You will also be able to affect the world with mining, farming, and forestry hubs. Trees will be cut down in close proximity to your forestry hubs. Farms will cultivate the earth, and ground will be excavated close to your mines, leaving visible impact on the terrain. So this is forestry. Here you have the untouched landscape, and here you have it afterwards. You can see, honestly, this just reminds me of like a foundation, for example, right? But you can see that the buildings come in, and all of a sudden the forest becomes a whole lot less, you know, a whole lot less forestry, if you will. Up here, basically completely gone. Very, very nice. Then we have the farm hubs, basically nothing right here, and boom. All of a sudden, the farms come in. You can see them represented. You can see the buildings. You can see the little villages around the farms that, you know, create themselves, of course, as the farms expand. Then you can see some farming terrain as well that changed from this right there. This is gorgeous. Then here with the mining hubs, of course, you can see, you know, basically the creation of it. You can see the train that there previously wasn't even a road right here, and all of a sudden you have a train running through it to transport whatever you get out of the mines and into the big cities to work with the factories, right? This is just something else. There's nothing else I can say. I think this dev diary, quite frankly, is an absolute beauty. If this is a filler dev diary, please give me more of these. With increased production and industrialization within your country and hubs, we are also giving you a purely visual reminder that the world will be affected by that as well. The visual pollution will see more smokestacks rising from your hubs, as well as the surrounding terrain becoming tarnished, all for the sake of progress, right? Smokestacks coming from a hub. Look at that. And here we have pollution affecting the larger terrain. I assume... See, here I'm just not sure. What exactly is this? I guess it just shows, like, that it's dirty, right? But yeah, no, you can see that there are changes, and that is the most important part there as well. If your people don't like the way things are progressing, they will show their displeasure through turmoil, and if you don't correctly address their concerns, you might find yourself with a revolution on your hands. Turmoil will just be a bit of anger brewing in the forms of puffs of displeasure, while revolution will have flags of opposition being raised in your hubs. I love this. This is just wonderful. What do you want me to say, right? This is the stuff that I like to see. You can see that they're working with the color palette as well, of course. You see the red, you see the anger, you see the fury, but you also see maybe, you know, communism, for example, and then, of course, the red flags of revolution. A wonderful game. Now let's get to the buildings. As previously mentioned, you'll get zeppelins traversing the skies upon building skyscrapers. And while these behemoths of buildings will tower over the rest in your city hubs, there's still monuments like the Eiffel Tower that we saw earlier. There will be even stronger indicators that your cities are growing beyond the point of the regular buildings. You know what? I would like to actually... I can't see it here, but I assume that Big Ben is here, right? Yeah, I can't spot it. I'm not sure, but Big Ben has to be there. It is, of course, a building. Right. Indicators that your cities are growing beyond the point of the regular buildings. The different skyscrapers for each culture set. So this is the Asian culture set, or, well, the East Asian culture set, I should say. Look at that. It's a really nice looking skyscraper, no doubt. Then right here we have the... This is in Jaipur, so it's in India. I assume this is the fairly classic Middle Eastern plus Indian texture, right? Like sets of buildings. No, wait a minute. You have a different Middle East right here, Mogadishu. So this is Mogadishu. So this must be Middle Eastern to African. This might be Middle Eastern to just Indian. Is this uniquely Indian? I don't believe so, right? And then right here we have Buenos Aires, which what I believe to be a fairly Western set, but it's not. It doesn't look... See, what we can see down here are there are 5 buildings right here. One of these surely is the Empire State Building. Is it you? I hope so. But yeah, look at that. They do blink. I gotta tell you, I actually can't place these. They all look really, really nice to me. I would enjoy, you know, actually getting some names to those. But either way, they look gorgeous. I hope that these Zeppelins can actually go between them. This is just... I don't know what to tell you. I know what to tell you, and that is... I wish CK3... you know, sort of jumped on this train and said, you know what we need to work on? We need to work on making the map being a living character as well, next to the characters that you already know. I want to see devastation when the Vikings raid me. I want to see little villages pop up, you know, when I get more development. I want to see the buildings maybe even placed, and I would love to see all of that maybe, you know, instead of just being on a barony level, on a per county level, so that it actually grows as a whole. I would like to see roads. I would like to see people taking those roads and things actually traveling along those roads. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I think every other Paradox game has to now measure against what Victoria 3 is pulling off here. The queen of map visualization, no doubt. Now, the next dev diary will be about the tutorial, which I'm very curious about. We got some early screenshots all the way back, I think, my god, like 6 months or something, but I looked at that and I said to myself, I don't quite know how this would help. Like, how does a player really realize what's going on there? So I'm very excited to find out how easy or hard it will be to jump into Vic 3, whether you know this series or you don't. And that's it for the moment. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you later, alligator.